Record. Okay, you're good.
Sweet. Hi, everyone. We are Taryn and Kim, Group 5, and today we will be presenting on the Huntsman Mental Health Institute Crisis Receiving Center, which is part of the University of Utah Health.
Mhm. Then you're just gonna have to click to the next screen.
I'm sorry.
You're good. Perfect. So HMHI is a comprehensive mental health care system that provides things like crisis stabilization, psychiatric assessment, suicide risk evaluation, and referrals to appropriate levels of care. The population that they primarily serve are going to be adults experiencing suicidality, severe mental illness, substance use, and acute psychosocial stressors. However, they do occasionally get a teenager or other people experiencing other types of things. As she shared, it was just kind of a luck of the draw kind of a thing. Whatever comes in through the door is kind of what they deal with. And then the crisis receiving center functions pretty similarly to a psychiatric emergency room where individuals can come in during acute periods of distress and be assessed, stabilized, and then they're connected to ongoing care. And their mission statement is right there. It's striving for a world free from stigma and suffering.
Okay, so this slide highlights the day-to-day role of a crisis worker. One thing that stood out to us was how structured the process is. It starts with assessment, where the clinicians evaluate safety and determine the level of care, and then it moves into the short-term treatment planning that is focused on the stabilization. And from there, a large portion of the work involves coordination with other providers and systems, and then followed by documentation, which takes up a significant portion of the day, more than you might think, unfortunately. And finally, discharge planning.
Um, And then one of the quotes that we decided to include from the interview was actually this one that we put on the screen. So a lot of the work isn't actually the crisis itself. It's more about figuring out what happens next and making sure people are actually safe when they leave. That really kind of shifted our understanding of what crisis work is, from being just like reactive, to being a much more like ongoing and structured clinical process, but one that focuses more on like what's next.
In terms of skills and approaches, clinicians use structured suicide assessments like the CAMS, along with rapid clinical decision making and a strong focus on stabilization and referral. There's also a heavy emphasis on teamwork, which includes collaboration with the providers and reliance on the coworkers for support as well.
With that, there are also significant challenges. So one of the biggest ones is working within a medical model where there's often a focus on symptom management rather than addressing the like underlying social issues or like root causes. And this can make it kind of difficult to fully support clients whose crisis is rooted in things like housing instability or isolation. And then she also stated that burnout and emotional fatigue were pretty ongoing in this field, and just this type of work in general, and that she was even experiencing it herself currently. And so there wasn't so much like prevention work rather than like um, the aftercare that comes when you are experiencing burnout.
Maintaining it, yeah. The this experience connected strongly to a lot of the concepts that we've been learning in class, especially the idea that crisis is not always at its peak intensity, but a lot of times it occurs during like the post-acute stabilization phase.
It also reinforced the importance of like the core clinical skills like assessment and triage and determining appropriate levels of care. At the same time, we saw how crisis care focuses on the immediate safety, even though many of the root causes of distress exist at a broader systemic level, like we discussed earlier.
Some of the biggest lessons that we learned were about how much flexibility and adaptability crisis work requires, as well as as well as the need to work across a wide range of populations and diagnoses.
And for me, one of the biggest shifts in understanding was moving away from the idea of crisis work as kind of like this swoop in hero moment. Not that it's really about you as the crisis worker ever, but like the fact that you're there in that like very acute phase, and trying to figure out what's going on. Um, I lost my train of thought. And instead seeing it as a structured, ongoing clinical process. This experience also highlighted the importance of things like self-care and sustainability, especially through that team support and those grounding strategies that we're learning in class. Going forward, I really want to integrate a systems perspective into my practice while still prioritizing both safety and dignity for the clients.
In terms of community resources, the Crisis Receiving Center can be accessed through walk-ins or provider referrals, and it's appropriate for individuals experiencing suicidal ideation, acute mental health crises, or severe emotional distress.
And then there are also opportunities for internships and volunteer work through the University of Utah Health. And importantly, their crisis services are available 24/7, making this a really critical resource for the community.
Mhm. And our discussion question for the class is, how do you balance working within a medical model of crisis care while still addressing the deeper social and environmental factors that are contributing to a client's crisis?
Mhm. Great. And then if you just want to go to our references slide, and
I'm so sorry.
that's it. The end. Yay.